Bye.
Bye. That was my very cute husband. He's on his way to town to go get diesel for the tractor. Right as I finally got live. That was quite a little adventure to get YouTube to let me go live. It was very weird. All right, let's chat. First of all, welcome. I'm Susie Quillen. I'm the Empress of Yarn here at Perfectly Naughty. And today we're going to be casting on a new project. And my computer is in the repair shop this week. And so I'm having to do everything on my phone, which I don't usually do. And so it's all just a little bit different. And it was a little bit persnickety for me. And so, oh, you gotta learn to just roll with it, I guess. So I'm glad you're here with me. And if you're watching on the replay, glad you're watching on the replay. Thanks for joining me. Subscribe, hit the like button, comment, even do some of those super, super things. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I love your support. I appreciate your support. It helps me do what I do and keep helping you to make beautiful things. So, what we're doing today, since I cannot currently um, edit on the crochet project I was working on without my computer, we're going to be casting on this really cute hooded vest. It's one that I have been wanting to make for a long while, and I'm finally doing it. The pattern is by Kristen Tendike, and it's from her book, um, Finish Free Knits. She has a few books that I really like, and I have a link to this one in my Amazon store. And if YouTube saved the video description that I put in there, there's a link to this book in my YouTube or in my Amazon store in the video description for this. Um, but it looked like it might have limited inventory because this is from Interweave, which no longer exists. So the pattern books that were published by Interweave are more challenging to get a hold of. So my other recommendation, and because I don't have my computer, I wasn't able to go look all the links up for you, but you all know how to use Google to look stuff up. I trust you on that. You can look this book up. You can check on eBay to see if it's available there. And even better, check with your local library. Okay? You can check it out and just borrow it to do with one or two patterns that you want to do from this book. I just happen to own a copy of it because there are a couple in here that I like. So I would like to see, I do love it checking books out from the library. Hi, Colleen. Yes, checking books out from the library is a great idea. I often will check if I'm looking at a book. I often will check my local library system to see if they have it available so that I can look at it and decide if it's one I want to own. If it's something I come back to regularly, then I often will just purchase it if it's available. But just remember, your local library is not free. It is taxpayer paid. You already own the books that are in the library. Okay? So you might as well access them. That's your ever growing, ever expanding bookshelf over there. Utilize that resource. And then that saves you some money to purchase other goodies from your favorite local yarn shop like me. Okay, this pattern it's worked seamlessly. And this is why it just fascinates me. I'm going to get the picture here. It starts with a provisional cast on along the bottom, and then it has a little bit of a rolled under hem, and these pockets are worked in short rows, picked up from the body. I don't even know quite yet how it works, and I'm fascinated by this. So, and I think this is something that I will wear quite a lot. I'm excited about it. We're going to use a lot of stuff here. And today, since today's just setup day, and I'm going to be doing a series of videos on this project as I go, today's setup day. And I have out my knitting needles for this. It calls for size 4 and 5. We're going to be doing a provisional cast on. And in my size, I'm going to need to do a provisional cast on, how many stitches? 146 stitches is what I will need to cast on for my size. I did a gauge check. I did not do a full on 4-inch gauge swatch on this, which I want to encourage you, if you are not familiar with a yarn that you're working with, if you're not familiar with your own, if you've not made a garment, please do a full on gauge swatch. I have used this yarn a little bit, and so I wanted to make sure my stitch width was correct. The height of it was not as imperative to me in this particular location. But gauge swatching is really, really, and if you are using a yarn that has a tendency to relax, I also want to encourage you that after you make your gauge swatch, this all counts, by the way, whether you're knitting or you're crocheting, but you can hang your gauge swatch. Do a nice substantial size, more than 4-inch by 4-inch, like a 6-inch by 6-inch. Hang it, because then gravity is going to let you see how the fabric responds, because we don't wear our fabric this way, we wear it this way. Okay, so there's that. We're going to do a provisional cast on. The pattern recommends doing a crocheted, a chain cast on, provisional cast on. That's not my favorite because we're doing the folded hem. So the folded hem, how that works is that you have a provisional cast on here, then you have your live stitches up here, and you knit a certain number of rows. You fold the fabric in half, and then you knit through both, like off of the provisional stitches and the live stitches, so you have a folded hem. My lace wings tunic uses this style of hem, and I personally prefer, in an application like this, instead of using waste yarn or a crochet chain, I like to use a whole separate circular knitting needle. So I have that right here. This one right here is, this was my grandmother's. And I don't especially like knitting with this one, this old, I mean, Grandma passed away 30 years ago. And these were old then. And so this plastic cable, it's really springy, but it's in good shape. And I don't know that I'm a super fan of the bent needle, and I actually really like shorter tips for the most part. But for my provisional cast on, it's going to be great. And I will be talking about that shortly. So, I did my gauge swatch. The reason why that was really important for me to do in this application, not only because it's the right thing to do when you make a garment so that you know that it fits, but this pattern calls for a worsted weight yarn and number 4 medium, which a lot of your worsted weight yarns, um, I would historically use a size 7 needle, but this pattern is calling for size 5 for the knitting the body. And I have this beautiful cotton yak yarn that I've been wanting to make a thing out of. And its ball band says that it recommends the size for, what does it say? Hold on, I gotta get my, it recommends a 4 millimeter, a 4 millimeter knitting needle and a size 5 knitting needle is a 3.75. So what the pattern is asking for is in alignment with what the ball band recommends. Not exactly, they're not the same, but they're in alignment. And so I needed to check my gauge to make sure that I was getting at least the correct stitch width, which I am. So, hooray, we're going to go with it. So that's that. This yarn, we're going to talk about this yarn. This is Rowan. It's called Soft Yak DK. It is a cotton and yak blend, and it's 76% cotton, 15% yak, and 9% nylon. Just enough yak to be really warm. Yak is terrible. It's very, very warm. It does not take very much. And the cotton is going to give it, gives it an airiness and a lightweightness that I really like. And then this is a chainette yarn. I do have an article on the website about chainette yarns that I did not link here, but you can go onto the blog and learn about chainette yarns. The link to this yarn is also in this video description, and I really like it. It just has such a lovely feel to it, and that'll make this vest really lovely for me for a spring, even summer evening vest. I actually wear vests quite a bit. All right, so that's how that goes. Now we're going to take my swatch sample off, and we're going to talk about provisional cast on a little bit more. There's a number of different ways to provisional cast on, and I really don't feel like there is a right way and a wrong way per se. I just have ways that I like, and I think what you need to think about is what are the steps happening after the provisional cast on. And in this case, because we are doing this folded hem, I don't want to have to pick up all of those stitches and put them back on a needle in order to merge them when it's folded, and to be able to merge them with the other needles or the other stitches. So like I said, this pattern calls for size 5 and size 4 knitting needles. The hem is worked on the size 4. Once the provisional cast on is done, I knit a certain number of rows, and then in the smaller, and that'll be the inside of the hem, and then I'll knit some rows that are on the larger needle, which will be, when it's folded, will be the outside, which means I can't use either of these for the actual provisional cast on, because I'm going to need to knit with them while the stitches are being held. So I'm going to use Grandma's cable needle for my holding, and I will also end up grabbing some some stoppers. If you don't have knitting needle tip stoppers, foam earplugs work really good for that, or even a little ponytail holder, just wrap around the end of it to keep the stitches from sliding off the end. There are a couple of ways to do this type of provisional cast on. And if you don't have it, don't go away. I'm going to go grab another book off the bookshelf. If you don't have this one, you need this one as well. It is also in my Amazon store. I think I have a link to it on the website in the pattern book section on the website. I also have a book review about this here on YouTube. You can go in here, and there's several different methods for doing provisional cast on. And you can pick the one that makes the most sense for you, that makes the most sense for your project. This particular method I am doing is the one that you would do typically with waste yarn. I just, instead of using waste yarn, here it is. And so instead of doing waste yarn, I'm just using a spare circular knitting needle. So that's how that goes. And it's a little bit different when you're doing it on the cable versus on the needle, but that's okay. And I can't do the whole thing while I'm reading it and trying to video it and really show you how it works. So let me go back over here and see if I can do it. Okay. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, so here's the needle that I'm going to knit with, and here's the one that is going to be the stitch holder. Okay, and we're going to hold those in my right hand. And where's my yarn? Over here. I've got some stitch markers because I will lose count if I'm chit-chatting while I do this. All right, so we are going to, it says, knot the working yarn. Normally we don't do knots, but it says to make a knot. All right, we'll make a knot. We'll just make a little bit of a slip knot, which is easier to do with a crochet hook, if you ask me, but that's just me. Okay, knot the working yarn together with the waste yarn. So that means I'm going to just put them together like this. Put both needles in that loop that I just made. Okay, very good. I do it that way because I know that this isn't going to count, and I'm going to take that out later. And like I said, there are different ways to do this. I have another way that I do it. My mother must have taught me because I do it left-handed. And my mom was left-handed. And there were things that she taught me. So, isn't that funny? It makes me a little bit ambidextrous, having had a left-handed mom. Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what? That doesn't work on this one because I'm doing it all. I'm doing it all upside down and backwards. Okay. All right, here we go. You just basically, you're going to take and you dip under and over and over and under. It's almost The short version of this, it's it's much more technical. But basically, you're just sort of weaving it in and around. This is the lazy way to do it. Just wrapping. This is my left-handed way. Anyway, so you end up with stitches on both sides. And then what I'm going to do, I will slide my holder and it will have all of these nice stitches lined up on it over here ready for me. And that way when I come back later and I want to, and I'll show you when I get to that point, I will be able to work off of, I'll just be able to slide this back into the active position. I love doing that, you guys. It makes it so much easier for me. If you have other favorite methods for doing provisional cast on, I would love to hear about them. It's a little bit more awkward and fiddly for me to do without being able to have my whole camera set up where I can really show you what I'm doing. So my description is a little bit vague, I know. But we're going to make the best of it anyway. So I just want to thank you for popping in here. I'm going to get started on this and I'm going to check in with you again tomorrow. My plan is to make progress on this and do check-in videos over these next few days while and as I go through the project. Again, check the description for the pattern book through Amazon. And even if you just need to use that link to get the information about this pattern book so you can find it from your local library, there's a whole bunch of really cute patterns in here. And I'll come back. I will, let's talk about that a little bit more too, since I circled back around on that. She does a lot of really interesting construction in here so that you aren't doing seaming, which I really love, and especially when things are structural. And so there's a lot of really cute patterns. There's cardigans and dresses and lacy things, tops, and again, here's a cute top right here. Where's the there's even a color work piece in here that it has a really it looks like a really interesting yoke. You see how the yoke is worked on the cuff around up and across and down. I don't even know exactly how, but then you pick up the stitches along here to work the body down. It's just interesting. I think it's just really quite fascinating. And even in doing that, let's see if I can get this up here close enough. Look at this shoulder. The way that she's done this short roll, it's almost like the heel of a sock to get the fabric to turn the corner for the shoulder, which I really like because a lot of your traditional top-down seamless sweaters, they have a round yoke or they have a raglan yoke, which I know it doesn't fit me super well, like this one right here. I think they're cute, but they don't sit on my shoulders very well because I have really square, blocky shoulders. I think knowing and understanding the shape of your own body um, is super helpful in knowing what garments shapes to make for yourself that that are comfortable for you to wear. Some of those aren't comfortable because they kind of pull up in through here, and I don't like that unless they're super oversized and maybe it has a raglan line, but it hangs off so much that it's not bunching up under my armpits. So, again, this one, the Cast On Bind Off book, this one is one that you really, really, really should have in your knitting toolbox. I will try to put a link in the description, again, because I'm doing this all on my phone because my laptop is at the hospital. It's kind of throwing off the way that I normally would do things, but that's a really one that I think is really important. Check out this yarn. It's beautiful. Don't forget when you order um, products from Perfectly Naughty, not the things that are on the Amazon links. That's a totally separate gig. But when you purchase directly from me, your shipping is free, even on my clearance items right now. So you should also go check out the clearance items because I've been putting stuff in there too and getting that all filled up because there's stuff, you guys. The last of the knitting needles from when I had the store. These are things that just don't make sense for me to have in my inventory. And I want you to have them at the best prices that I can give you and still provide free shipping. So, all right, that's a lot. We're using Grandma's knitting needle. I'm using Grandma's row counter. I'm excited. Got my stitch markers here to help me keep track of how many stitches I've cast on. I'm going to go ahead and go do that provisional cast on and get that hem part worked up until the join, till it gets joined. And I will come back on tomorrow and show you how that is going along. If you have questions about your knitting or your crochet, I'm your stitching coach, okay? I'm here to help you make beautiful things, and to be, um, as you can tell, I'm very practical and I'm very, yeah, I like to keep it real, you guys. I'm not all highfalutin. I don't have a big fancy studio. Um, I don't have a staff. I don't have a team. I have just me over here just doing this. And I do it because I want to encourage you that you can. If you hang out with me long enough, I'm going to convince you you can knit or crochet anything that you want. All right, so let's get started on something fun and pretty. Be watching once the computer comes back. I've got a fun crochet stitch along workshop that I am creating. I have a whole new course platform for you on the website that I've been building, and I'm really excited about, and I think it's going to allow you to just really get your hands on some of these techniques and projects in a platform that's at your pace, and it's easy going to be easy for you to follow along with. There's a free learn to crochet course on there right now if you want to test it out and just see what that's about. Head over to the perfectlynaughty.com/shop, and you can check out, look in the courses and workshops and classes section, and you'll see it. There's only one in there right now because I'm building. So I appreciate your support. I appreciate you following along. I appreciate you joining me again. Susie Quillen, Perfectly Naughty. I am your stitching coach. I am your empress of yarn, and we're going to make beautiful stuff together that we're going to love to wear. All right. Have an awesome evening. Now let's see if it's going to let me turn this off since it was giving me such a struggle to get it to turn on my phone. Have a fabulous evening, you guys.